Guys, how's it? Winter time, Mojo rig, probably the most popular rig used in South Africa. I think every single person in the world knows what the Mojo rig is, finesse rig. There's a couple of variations that I can show you today on that. Definitely a good rig to throw in the winter time as well. So let's get to it. Rod wise, I'm throwing a Pesca Pro Series weightless and Mojo rig rod. The spec detail on that rod, it's a 7'5", it's a medium extra fast, line rating 10 to 14 pound, and your lure rating up to a 3/8 ounce, so like a 1/8 to a 3/8 ounce. So it really is nice, a nice long rod. The reason for that, throwing a light weight, it's got a really good tip on it. It's got a nice action to that tip, so you can throw that light Mojo rig a mile. It's a very good weightless rod as well. If you're throwing a weightless 5-inch Senko, deadly rod. So for me, it works exceptionally well. Onto that, guys, when it comes to Mojo, you can go 10, 12, even if you want to push it, 15-pound line. I would suggest the most predominant is a 12-pound line, and fluorocarbon, and that's gonna be your best possible bet. If you're fishing areas where it's not too much cover, 10-pound will do the job for you there as well. If you can get away with 10-pound, it's just going to give your baits a little bit more action, whereas the heavier that you go in terms of your line, kind of deadens that action a little bit. So 12 pounds are a good starting point. So for me, 12-pound Tatsu or 12-pound Invisix is the line of choice a lot of the times when it comes to that technique. 12-pound Abrazix is a line that I've spoken a lot about. It's kind of the best of all in one. So you know, those are the line choices. But there again, I've said it many times. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The best fluorocarbon that you're prepared to buy, they're pretty much priced accordingly. You know, so you get what you pay for. Fluorocarbon line, let's just use that. Doesn't really matter what fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon line is key, rather the fish that over than a monofilament. So get yourself a spool of fluorocarbon. And I'll show you how to do this Mojo rig. So essentially, when it comes to the weight, this is a Mojo weight. This is the Vike lead Mojo weight, and then you get the Vike tungsten Mojo weight. They come in a variety of sizes, which is why they are different. Obviously, the tungsten is more expensive. It's for more premium guys that are prepared to spend that kind of money. It's about half the size of the lead, so your profile is much smaller. It's harder. It does give more sound off the rocky bottom as well. So if you want to get the tungsten, alternatively you can get the lead. Arguably they'll do the same thing. Let's start off with the Vike lead. The Vike lead Mojo weight that we have is a very interesting weight compared to other lead Mojo weights that might exist in the market. It's very unique, very special, and I'll show you why. Okay, so just for a bit of a better look at the Vike lead Mojo weight, as I rotate it there, you'll see that blue. So we've actually got a nylon insert molded into our, well, let's say the lead is molded around that plastic nylon insert. And it protrudes each side. And the reason for that, and that's why these are so successful, and that's why they sell so well, the reason for that is to protect your line. What happens is when you fish lead, you guys will know, if you fish lead for a long period of time over rock, the lead gets roughed up, the edges get very sharp, and that's when it can cut your line. So this nylon insert that we have on these Vike lead weights prevents that. So it's very important. So check that, guys. A lot of you might not even know that. What other guys might do in this kind of technique, where you're throwing a small Mojo weight like that, they might throw a split shot where they crimp it onto the line. For me personally, that obviously sort of decreases the integrity of your line. It's a weak spot for me. I don't particularly like that. So if you want to use a split shot, maybe consider this as an alternative, this little Mojo weight, and you can put a bobber stopper each side of it if you don't want it to slide. I personally prefer it to slide. Another aspect, I like it to slide so the fish doesn't feel the weight. And another aspect of that nylon insert is that it's consistent through, so the diameter is consistent through there. It's not like the lead molded ones that have possibly could have a rough interior, so your line will slip through that consistently, which means that when the fish, although it's still a light weight, the fish are finessy and they're being difficult, the line will slide through that consistently every time. So if the fish picks up on your bait, it's not going to feel that. It's going to slide just like a Carolina rig, basically. It's just going to slide. So that's another feature I forgot to mention of that nylon insert, if we can call it that. So let's just rig one up for you so we can show. A lot of guys will know obviously how to rig up a Mojo rig, but a lot of guys there don't know. So that's just the Vike lead Mojo going onto the line. Then I'm going to take a bobber stopper. So this is a Vike rubber stop, and that's essentially what a rubber stop is. That's essentially what it is there. It's a little stopper. It's on a piece of wire. At the top of the wire there's a loop on it, and you put your line through that loop and you pull it up onto your line. So I'm taking my line, putting it through the wire loop, and then you take that bobber stopper and you slide it up onto your line like that. Okay, and there it is. It's on the line. That's going to hold my weight in place. It's very easy for me to adjust the length of my leader. My hook is going to go on this end, and just with a bit of moisture, you can adjust your leader by sliding that bobber stopper up or down to adjust your leader length. So then onto that, I'll just tie my hook. Right guys, there I have my basic Mojo rig. There it is there. It's my hook, my little leader section controlled by that bobber stopper, and my lead Mojo weight. Done and dusted. Very simple rig, easy to do. As mentioned guys, you have got the tungsten option, and you rig it up exactly the same way. It's just up to you if you want to go lead or tungsten. Chaps, what can happen, winter time, we're fishing a Mojo rig a little bit deeper, so you want to, if you want to go with a heavier Mojo weight, you'd obviously go with the tungsten. What can happen is because you're fishing thin line and you flinging that Mojo as far as you can, you might need to add another bobber stopper just as a bit of reinforcement, so that it doesn't keep sliding. It's very frustrating when you fish a Mojo rig and your bobber stopper keeps floating down. So if that does keep happening and it's becoming a stress, then you can do what we call a finesse Carolina rig, where instead of using a bobber stopper, you actually incorporate a swivel in its place. That swivel is obviously going to prevent any movement. Yes, you won't be able to adjust your leader lengths if you need to. You'd have to retie, but a swivel will solve that problem for you as well. So you've got the option, to have the swivel or 2 of those bobber stoppers, and we'll solve that problem for you. When it comes to your bobber stoppers, guys, there's a medium size and there's a small size. So obviously the small size is for your 8 or 10 pound, maybe pushing it to a 12 pound line, and then you've got the medium, which is like 12, 15, 17, and it goes all the way. You can fit 20 pound on that as well. So have a look at those. You'll see them. It's a RSM and a RSS. S is small, M is medium. So check those out just to make sure you're getting the right one for the technique that you're going to be fishing. So obviously if you go with a medium size one where it's a bit thicker, it could potentially slide. So get the small ones. You might need to put 2 on there because you are fishing in the winter. You are fishing 15, 20 foot of water possibly. So a lot of times you're not going to use such a small Mojo weight. You want to get it down to the bottom and you want to fish it on the bottom. So the heavier weight's going to help you maintain that bottom contact, fishing it through rocks and timber and all those kinds of structure and cover that you're going to be experienced with. In terms of baits, guys, there are so many baits. I'll just show you the most popular ones, but you can like throw the kitchen sink on a Mojo rig and bass eat it. The good old Zoom Super Fluke, deadly. You put a 3/0 hook into that. This is a lovely color. This is a stunning color. This is called watermelon slice. So it's like it's a watermelon red, but it's like got a laminate type tinge to it. So that's pretty cool. I like that. That's a Super Fluke. Works well. 3/0 hook in that, like a megabyte or something. You'll be sorted. And obviously the good old Fluke Junior, which you could throw on a 1/0 or a 2/0 hook, according to your preference. Super Fluke Junior. And then 5-inch Senko, 5-inch Lunker Log, any of the Senko type baits, 4-inch Senko, all very, very good, tried and tested and proven baits on a Mojo rig, guys. Very, very good rig this time of year, any time of year, but in the winter time, it really does perform well. So don't forget about that. A bait that I like to throw, guys, on a Mojo rig is the Z-Man Streaks. This is the junior version, or the Streak 375, 3.75 inch Streak. It's a little baitfish imitator. It's got a little split tail. So what I'll do is I'll just give that a little bit of a rub and basically give that a little bit of encouragement for those tails to split apart. A little split tail, just like a Super Fluke Junior basically. It's got a nice hook slot in it. This color is the deal. Obviously it's made out of elastic plastic, so I get a lot of bang for my buck with that as well. Very durable and very, very buoyant. So just rigging it up, guys. Standard sort of Texas rig method. Just up onto the hook. It's a 2-0 hook. You could go down to a 1-0 on this technique, but there it is, ready to go. You get a lot of bites, a lot of fish, a lot of value for money on that Z-Man Streak 375. So this is your basic presentation of what your Mojo rig looks like underwater, and you'll see what's very, very special about this Z-Man Streak 375 as it actually floats off the bottom. So as you're moving that and twitching it around your rig, it will actually drop down. Let me drop it in one more time. The tank's a bit small for what I'm trying to show you guys. It gets pulled down and floats. So to have the ability to fish a technique where your weight is on the bottom, but your bait is off the bottom, suspended or floating off the bottom, it's a lot easier for those fish to come down, a lot more convenient, a lot more natural, because your bait's not in the dirt, it's above the cover, it's above the ground. So that's really something unique, and I think can definitely get you a few more bites. Okay, I'm just going to move this a little bit, just because of the size of our tank. I'm just going to move that rig a little bit shorter, just to illustrate the weight on the bottom and how the buoyancy of the Z-Man Streak actually, it still floats. Just drop it in and have a look. So there you can see a better representation of it. Obviously it's a shorter leader now, but you can see that's the principle we're working on there. Weights on the bottom, baits floating off the bottom. Incredible. As you move that, obviously it's going to have a wicked action and float off the bottom. Even with that 2.0 hook in it, it's a Mustad Megabyte hook, floats perfectly. So you could actually get away with that 2.0 quite nicely. It's a bigger hook, better opportunity to hook that fish, but you still get the flotation and the buoyancy out of the plastic even with that 2.0 hook. So you don't necessarily need to go down to a 1.0. So in terms of leader length, guys, I think it's just important. I don't want my leader that short as we did now in the tank demonstration. So I just wet that and I just pull it. It's probably, I'm looking at like a 300 mil. A 300 mil leader length for me works fine. And you sort it. That bait's still going to float and that weight's still going to be on the bottom. Whether you're fishing off the bank, fishing off a boat, fishing on a small craft, a kayak, I hope that this video helps you guys catch more fish.